GCHF coming back down. Look at GCAD, again, with this weak candle formation. So now that we got some more people here. Dennis is here. TJ's here. Colby's here. Let's go over just a couple of things one more time, all right? We'll start with UJ, just because this was probably my least favorite one as it continues higher. So I didn't like this shift candle just because I think it is a little bit of a weak shift candle bar. I do see the bearish divergence on top, just like we had on all the other JPY pairs. If you start at yesterday's RSI high, connected into today's price action high, you can then see that rising price with falling RSI. So right there, if you extend that out, that divergence line is kind of in your way here, right? But look at it, just getting gas now after the news, 26 pips. This shift candle, the only other thing that I don't like about it, other than the zone from yesterday's high in your way and the divergence, it's also still in the Asian range. So you've got a couple of knocks here that make it a less probable setup. Still readable risk reward, still got a tight stop loss, and you can still make some money on this, but it's not the best trade of the day by far. Let's flip over inverted. Let's look at Euro USD as this still comes down. Remember yesterday we were looking at this. It was very sideways yesterday. We weren't sure where it was going to break out, but we saw higher lows, but we also saw lower highs. So it was consolidating. Overnight, notice how it sits. I have the 800 EMA boxed off in blue here. It sits at that 800 underneath it, using it as resistance above. It comes back to it here at about 4:45 in the morning. That's the 800 EMA, the 200 EMA, the Asia high. So 3 significant zones right there. And that's where we get the D1 entry. The only thing that I don't like about this D1 is that you have to trade short when you're in an upshift. That's the only knock that I would give it. Technically, it swaps into the buy zone for a quick second here, but most of the day it's clearly in the sell zone. And yesterday it was even falling kind of into the sell zone at the end of the day. So that's why I think the short bias was fairly clear here. And if you look at the 1 minute, the setup is beautiful. Divergence on top. You get the 50 test here with lower highs as that L50 pulls into the sell zone. And then look at it. Let me blow the 1 minute up. From the entry point, where's the 1 minute liquid 50? Don't even look at price. Look at the liquid 50. Sell zone, sell zone, sell zone, holding the sell zone, still in the sell zone, all the way down to ADR. And that's how I would manage the trade. If you take the trade short in an upshift, the 1 minute liquid 50 should be in the zone that you're trading. So if you're trading short, it should be in the sell zone, and it should hold that zone as long as the move is going to continue. If this would have broken back up into the buy zone here, it would have been done. It's probably coming higher. Maybe it's chopping around. I don't know what it's doing, but that's where I would say the trade is done. But since it held the sell zone through the back testing, that tells us that we should stay in that trade. Okay. So far, we just talked about UJ and we just talked about Euro USD. If you're enjoying the stream, I see we got some new people here. Make sure, there it is. Give me a thumbs up. Smash the thumbs up button, guys. It really does help me spread my value to new people. And that's all I'm doing this for. I want to continue to help new and struggling traders improve their trading and make more money, because I know this business is very tough. No one's ever going to sugarcoat that. I'm never going to sugarcoat that and be like, yeah, this is easy money. No, it's not. It's tough to sit on your hands. It's tough to know what trades to wait for. And it's even tougher to know how to consistently repeat that process over a long period of time. So what I'm doing with going over these trade ideas every day is showing you how I do that behind the 3 systems that we trade, the A1, the D1, and the D2. So here you got a D1 on Euro USD. I love it. Here we got a D2 on Euro JPY. So you can see the high a day from yesterday and the bearish divergence on top, creating the zone at 134.03, 134.05. Overnight, what does it do? Lower high, confirm the lower high, confirm the lower high. So 133.97, 134 whole number, that is resistance. You get your first 50 EMA break here, which says change of bias might be coming. Then it breaks the 50 EMA again here, and that's where we could look for the D2 entry to take it down towards the 200. It doesn't reach all the way to the 200 yet. It reaches about 2R from this idea. You could also look to trade it here after that 50 EMA break as it retests and comes back down through, and maybe even use a slightly tighter stop. That'll increase your risk reward to about 3R. Either one of those 50 EMA breaks fits the D2 system. This is very similar to GBP JPY, but look at GJ still sitting sideways on this D2 idea. You've got the bearish divergence on top, you've got the lower highs, you've got multiple 50 EMA breaks, but look at all these pins here. And I don't think it's just because of this zone. I think it's because the other GBP pairs are more bullish than bearish. So if you see this on GJ, you should look at the other JPY quote pairs, CAD JPY, NZD JPY, and Euro JPY. To me, Euro JPY is my favorite of those 3. I don't like CAD JPY and I don't like NZD JPY. So Euro JPY is a better trade in my opinion than GJ. And I'm not just saying that because it's moved further. just knowing what you know, look at the other GBP pairs. They looked very bullish today. TDI in the buy zone on GCHF, TDI in the buy zone on GCAD. So they looked bullish, which made me think, I don't know if GJD2 will work. EJD2 is the better idea. So now let's talk about these couple of GBP pairs. GA, just to mark it up, this isn't a trade that I would ever take. It's got a liquid 50 in the buy zone, but it's in the Asian range, and it technically is an overextended candle. If you measure this body, it is the biggest body of the day. However, next bar stays bullish, and it holds the 8 EMA basically all day now up to ADR. Not a terrible trade, but not a great trade either, okay? This would set the GBP bias in my opinion. You can look over here at GCAD. I like the liquid 50 here holding the buy zone, but here you've got bearish divergence on top. You can't ignore that. Now, price is still moving higher, higher lows and higher highs. So you can look to trade the shift candle here at 445. That only pops for you with a 13 pip stop. That only moves about 16, 17 pips. Not a great trade. And I think the reason for that is strictly because it's Friday and you've got bearish divergence on top. That bearish divergence does not mean reversal. Remember that. It means change is coming. The change from this sideways chop overnight could either be rise or it could, in my opinion, also be a move lower. So I wouldn't love this shift candle, as you can see from my notes, but it does make sense of why someone would take this trade. Now, as it moves, you can see it pulls back to the 21 EMA and actually gives you a potential A1 formation. Why I didn't jump into this trade, and I sent this to the group chat, is because as you can see, the right leg of the formation does not break that horizontal dotted line that I'm showing. That's where the consolidation started previous. And through our back testing, we know that a stronger right leg indicates a stronger potential for it to move in the direction that we want it to move. So the weak candle formation here with the divergence on top still present is what kept me out of this trade going long this morning. I think another part of this that you have to be aware of, we talked about this a little bit on some of the other trade ideas this week. Look at the trend line, the red trend line. If you know the ASFX systems, you know that red trend line should not be falling when you're looking to go long. That doesn't make any sense. So that's another thing that I don't love about this setup. But more importantly than that, the right leg could have closed for a new body high of day, and it didn't. And then instantly you see what happens. You would have taken a loss on this trade. Now let's look at GBP CHF. Same kind of thing. A weak candle formation, good looking TDI, but again, same thing. Bearish divergence on top from the day before sets the zone that is your resistance. And if you traded this weak candle formation into that zone, your risk reward is only 1.3R. You don't know that it's going to bust through and break this zone like it did. So to me, this isn't a super high probability trade setup, mainly because of the weak right leg and because of the divergence with this zone in your way. So again, not super clean, but I could understand why you would want to buy that. But I would tell you, look at the other GBP pairs. Maybe you could find something like this on GCAD that makes a little bit more sense. Because on GCAD at the same time, here at the 50 EMA, before this has a shift, if you go to the 1 minute, you have bullish divergence. So you could have actually been in a little bit lower here, closer to the 50 EMA, maybe something like this. Maybe you're looking to do something like that. Once you get the higher low in off the divergence, you're in there. That then gives you decent risk reward. You're getting over 2R on that. So to me, if you're going to do anything on GCAD today, it would be the D1 off the 50 towards the divergence line, and then you would handle it when it reaches there. See if it breaks, see if it comes towards the 8 EMA, and handle it accordingly. But I think the D1 here on GCAD is the better trade to take out of all the GCAD opportunities. Talked about GCHF, and look at GJ coming up now. EJ still holding the 8. So I think EJ will probably come lower. Euro USD now breaking through ADR, still going lower. GU falling with it. Dollar index moving higher. Maxing out ADR, 90.4. It's a pretty strong move there. So those were the ideas this morning. Let's see. Dennis liked UJ. Yep, talked about that. If I were to take EU, was going to be off the 21 using the D1, but again, I was not hot on it. Higher time frames were not aligned with the short idea. Yep, I agree. Brendan, what do you think about robots? If you can show me one that works, you might change my opinion. But for right now, robots are a tough sell for me, just because I've never found one that works super well. And that's what I would need to be confident to try to trust it with my money, simply put.